Welcome. It's time for my campaign update. I owed you a campaign update from, I think, last week, so I'm going to do that now. My name is Susan Maud Buchser-Lochocki, a presidential candidate from the 2020, 2024, and 2028 presidential elections. And from the 2024, I have not conceded the election because there's lots of fraud in the system. And I don't know if Donald Trump is truly supposed to be our president because there's so much corruption and fraud in the system. So anyways, welcome to my state of my campaign and campaign update. So one thing I noticed, it seems that the Republican Party in West Virginia is still listening to me. They announced that they're going to hold their own primary and keep it closed only to Republicans. I find this fascinating. Now, I hope that means that they're not going to be using my tax money for their primary. They should not. They should use no taxpayer money or resources or anything having to do with our government because they don't own our government. They are a political party. So West Virginia Republicans and West Virginia Monongalia County Republicans, you better listen up. You do not have any ownership of our country. You have no right to use any of our government resources for your primary. 100%. You should be voting in your own primary, period. I have no say. I'm not a Republican. I have no say about your primary. And you should have no use of my tax money for it. Use your own money from your own party's bank account, period. And that goes for the Democrats too. Because this is part of the problem. We seem to, or somehow the Democrats and Republicans figured out a way to extort money from us, the taxpayer, for their primaries, when not all of us are Democrats and Republicans. So why should two political parties that do not own and run our country specifically, I mean, they've made it so that nobody else can get in. So yes, it is how it has been happening for at least since our beginning. But the real truth is that they don't have that right. It says, our Constitution does not say we, the Democrats and Republicans. It says we, the people. It doesn't say we, the people, and any parties out there. It says we, the people. So the people own and run the country, not the Democrats and not the Republicans, and they don't have a right to my tax money for their party. They have run our country, both of them together, into the ground, and I don't want it anymore, and I don't want them benefiting from my hard work. So, Democrats and Republicans, yes, do your own primaries on your own time, on your own schedule, period, end of story. It's none of my business when you have your primary, and you should not be using anything government-related, state-related, local-related, county-related for your primary, period, end of story. So, I have to look further into what I just saw, but I hope that is the avenue they're going down. So I am putting this video out without knowing all the information, but there is something seemingly There is something seemingly happening. So they're hearing me. They heard me. I put all this out back in 2022 when I ran for Congress, and they're finally getting to it all. Thank you. So if you're going to go and do that, then do it fully. Period. So I guess election reform is happening. This is part of my campaign promise. Once I discovered the fraud back in 2022 when I was running for Congress, I said, hey, this is not good. And I asked our governor at the time and our, who's the guy, Secretary of State, to stop the election. I gave them instructions on how it could work. They need to say an emergency and we've got fraud and we should stop it, and nobody did. Then we had another election, probably the following year, like a small one, because I now know that they also do these small ones in between, and that way, nobody votes in them, so they can pretty much pick and choose who they want. And then we had the 2024 one, which again, there was lots of corruption there. And West Virginia decided to throw out my U.S. citizen vote. So this is also just shocking to me that they could throw out a U.S. citizen vote, especially with all the complaining about, we don't want foreigners voting. So I'm finally here. I'm finally voting with my U.S. citizen passport even. And they didn't even care to look at it. And they threw my vote out. This was in 2024. Then last year there was a small election too. That, everybody was talking about election time in November. And so I look in November to see if there's anything to vote on. And I found out there was something to vote on, and that was in July. So again, the Democrats and Republicans, because those are the only ones who are in any position of power in my state and probably yours, they did that. They did that on purpose because they didn't want us, the public, to vote. I mean, F you is what I can say. F you. So, folks, we got big problems. It does seem like the parties are trying, but they are still not fully understanding what they have to do. And so we do got big problems still. And I hope the Supreme Court will act on my lawsuit because it is enough now. We've really had enough. The U.S. people's voices need to be heard. We see so much unrest everywhere, and it's not acceptable. I mean, also look around the world. Other people, other countries, the people of those countries don't like it when their voices aren't being heard either. So it's time. It's time to let the people run themselves. We don't need a state legislature, actually. We need the voices of the people. We don't need a middleman. The things are not so complicated. We can do everything on TV. There should be like a West Virginia state-run TV channel where local channels can also put on information. So put out reports, news about what's going on in your county. So the mayors of every county should be talking, maybe even the sheriff department should also have like a little show where they can talk about all different things. There could also be kids shows, all locally from West Virginia, to spotlight West Virginia. So, and then we can also spotlight the legislature that's out there. So, and this is how West Virginia's legislature works. They have a long list of maybe 100 things that they want to vote on. They might pick about 50 to vote on, and they're going to try to get everything done before May. So, we hardly have any chance to know what they're voting on. And then to actually what can I say? To actually, have a word with anybody important is also pretty impossible. So this is how the Democrats and Republicans work. They streamline, they railroad us into our laws. And so this is where we are, folks, and it's unacceptable. So I'm going to stop here, and the next video will be State of the Union, where I'm going to talk about this tragedy that happened in Minnesota. And, anyways, and other things. So thanks for stopping by, and I will get back to you shortly. This is the end of part 1. Okay, thanks. By the way, if you want to look me up online, I am Susan4USA.com. That's Susan, the number 4, USA.com. And I'm on X, YouTube, and Facebook, to name a few. I do need to get back on LinkedIn, and my connection with Instagram has changed, although I will try to get back in, but my phone was stolen, so I lost again my entrances into these platforms, so I need to reorganize myself still. But I'm trying to keep going forward and whatnot. YouTube is the best place to be to catch most of my videos or things of concern, or my Facebook page. And there is one that's very active. I'm also sort of kicked out of my other ones, and I may let them go because they're sort of old news. And although my opinion hasn't changed that much, we have new issues and new things going on, so it might be best to just find the one that I'm using right now, which you can get through the website, Susan4USA.com. And then don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel and any place else that you see me. Just make sure it's me and not somebody else. So that is my news for right now, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.